You usually don't think of Oklahoma when you think about Christmas trees, but it is an up-and-coming crop in the state, grown both for pre-cut and for choose-and-cut operations. Now, Ron Dahlgren with OSU's Sunup program talked recently with a local grower down in Ripley, Oklahoma, about what it takes to grow Christmas trees.
There are an increasing number of Christmas tree farms across the state of Oklahoma, as many landowners seek alternative enterprises to increase profits from their land. But it's an enterprise that requires a tremendous commitment.
It takes planning from initial steps, what you want to do in the Christmas tree business, how many acres you have time to maintain. Many people, as I do, have another job, and you've got to commit a lot of weekends and a lot of effort into Christmas trees. So you have to kind of make some planning ahead of how many acres you want to grow, and commitments on time and money, because it takes a lot of finances the first 4 or 5 years in Christmas trees. A lot of money up front that you're not going to get back until after you sell your first trees.
Boyle says that too many landowners have the opinion that raising Christmas trees is no more complicated than sticking some seedlings in the ground, waiting 5 years, then reaping the profits. But if that were true, he says, there'd be far more folks in the business.
The fact of the matter is, when you plant them, you got to do a lot of site prep, and you've got to go into and spend some money on fertilizer and soil test, and plant them in rows that you can maintain with your own equipment. You got to mow the middles 4 to 6 times a year, every summer, with some kind of mowing equipment. You've got to use herbicides in the rows to maintain weed control.
Uncontrolled weeds can affect the shape and form of the tree, as well as robbing the tree of nutrients and water, increasing the time it takes to grow a marketable tree.
There's a lot of commitment during the summertime of time. These trees have to be sheared at least 2 to 3 times, either by hand shearing or by mechanical shearing, such as a rotary trimmer or the like of that. So there's a commitment of a lot of time. We spend a tremendous amount of time out here. We've got about 4 or 5 acres of trees, and we spend a good 50 or 60 days in the summertime just mowing and trimming and spraying.
And of course, Christmas tree production requires a healthy investment in money, an investment that won't begin to pay off for at least 4 to 5 years. From the OSU Co-op Extension Service, I'm Ron Dahlgren.
If you visit a local Christmas tree farm, not only will they have cut and you-cut Christmas trees, very often they have other Christmas decorations such as wreaths, grave blankets, and garlands made out of the evergreen boughs and available for sale. Now, one other option for Christmas tree, other than a cut Christmas tree, are live trees. Very often, your local garden center, nursery will have balled and burlapped pine trees that can be brought inside and decorated as a Christmas tree and then planted out in your yard and enjoyed for many years to come. Now, the care of these trees in order to reintroduce them to the winter weather is very specific. So when you buy a live Christmas tree, make certain to get the instructions from your garden center on how best to do it. Now, there are several types of Christmas trees that are grown for cut operations in Oklahoma. The most common by far is the Virginia pine, mostly because it's very tolerant to hot, dry conditions, and it's widely adapted and widely grown around the state. Scotch pine is also grown very often. It's not as well adapted, but it's grown mostly because of its bluish-gray needles, very attractive. Austrian pine is also adapted to the state. It has longer, stiffer needles and makes a very nice Christmas tree. The prime consideration for a Christmas tree is its freshness. This is how much moisture is left. A dried out Christmas tree will not regain moisture when it's brought inside and put in a stand. A fully hydrated tree is not a fire hazard. It's only when the tree becomes dry that it can burn readily. So look for a fresh tree, one that has needles that are still a little bit flexible, not dry and brittle. If the tree has become too dry, it won't absorb water, never will absorb water, and is a fire hazard right from the start. Now, a few tips for your tree when you get it home. Try and get it moist as soon as possible. Replace any lost moisture. When you put it in the stand, taking cut off the base at least 1 inch above the old cut. This gets you into fresh wood, and place it in your stand immediately. Your stand serves two functions. One is to provide good sturdy support, but its most important function is to provide a reservoir of water. You want a tree stand that has a good supply of water. A tree can use in a warm room up to 1 quart or more of water in a day. So especially if you have a small reservoir of water, you need to check it very frequently. At least once a day, twice a day is preferable. A few other tips to keep in mind. Lukewarm water is absorbed quicker than cold water, so it's recommended especially for the first watering. Keep the water level above the base of the butt of the tree, of the cut. If it goes below the cut, that cut end will dry out and won't absorb water as well. Keep your tree out of hot drafts and away from sources of heat that could help dry it out quickly. If possible, use the small bulbs instead of larger bulbs. The small bulbs don't give off as much heat and won't dry out the needles as badly.